Everybody, and welcome to part two of our little spiel about how to work with the shot of color in Photoshop or Photopea. Um, so as we're working on this, look, there's a couple different ways to go about using these things in Photoshop. Now, Photoshop is a lot more difficult. Okay, so I want you to understand that. So, anytime you run into an issue, make sure you have select deselect going on. If you have multiple layers, right? So I've got my layers window, make sure you have the right piece selected. And so Photoshop gets tricky. So we're going to try to keep this as easy as possible. So these are our selection tools. And we'll find out if this is too much for you or not. And so we've got our selection tools in here. Our rectangle marquee tool. When I hold down on this, if I click and hold, now I've got three different selection tools right here. A lasso tool is going to select something like this. Now this probably isn't the best way to select this. In fact, it's pretty difficult. Here's the polygonal lasso, and so it clicks in straight lines, which we may not want. And so now the next thing I'm going to probably select is go select deselect. And then there's the magnetic lasso. And the magnetic lasso, it is kind of, it selects based on the color differences. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Now I get some students that forget where they started. And so then they get this stupid thing going on and it drives them nuts. Press the option key. If I press the option key, that's not going to do anything. So press the command key. So click the command key and then it'll select it and then you're good to go. So we'll go select, deselect. This one can be kind of obnoxious sometimes with the magnetic lasso. So then we get into the magic wand and the quick selection tool. We'll start with the magic wand. So the magic wand clicks on certain areas. And based on this up here, so this is my control panel. If this isn't showing up, we're going to click on window. And then, let's see here, control panel, it's not on here. Where is it? Usually it's up here. I'm not seeing it. Okay. Anyway, it's usually up here. So, that's good. So when we click on this magic wand, this piece here, the higher the number, the more it's going to select. So let's try 55. And so I click on that, press shift, and you can see how it's selecting all the red area. Okay. So that's pretty decent. Then what you can do, if I uncheck this box, watch what happens. So I'm going to go select deselect, and I'm going to click on this, and now it's going to select everything else in the photo that's red. And sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. And so in this situation, it's not exactly ideal because I'm still end up selecting a lot of the other parts. So it's important to know which is which. So for this, we're probably just going to go contiguous, have that checked, and then I'm going to deselect there, and here we go. And then if I hold the shift key, I'm adding to the selection. So see the shift, see what's right next to the little magic wand is a plus sign. That means it's adding to it. So I'm holding the shift key. If I press the option key, see that little minus sign that shows up? So that is going to be deselecting from it. So then I click on there and now I'm deselecting from everything I've already selected. Okay. Now the next one is the quick selection. This one's probably my favorite. Now if we, and I say favorite because a lot of times it's the easiest. So next to the letter P, there's two brackets. I click on the right one, and now I'm selecting this whole piece here. And I'm going to do a couple of different selection assignments here, just so you can kind of see how all of this works. And so all I'm doing is clicking, and it's adding to the selection. Notice up here, these are our different quick selection. If I click on this one, it just selects one piece. If I click here, it'll select one piece, but then as I keep clicking, it's going to select more and more. So the next thing, now I've got this piece selected. Well, what I'd want to do is I'd go Image, Adjustments, Desaturate. Okay, the problem is now I've selected the wrong part, and now that part's deselected and desaturated. So I'm going to go Edit, Undo. Okay, so then I have to go Select Inverse. And so now you see what I call these are dancing ants. They're little dancing ants running around the border. So that way you know all of this area around here is selected. So then I'm going to go image, adjustments, desaturate, and now I'm good. Okay, that part's done. Same thing with this assignment. Okay, well, we're going to use the quick selection, and I just want to select this piece. Now press the Option key to deselect from that. And if you're using a Windows computer, a Dell, then the command keys that you're going to hold down are going to be a little bit different. But now I've got this part. So what do I need to do? Select Inverse. Then you see the dancing ants. And then we go Image, Adjustments, Desaturate. Okay? So the next thing, I'm going to go Select, Deselect. And so I've got my whole file here. Now I'd love to see if you could do some of these. So it's Image, Adjustments, and then Levels. And what I want to do is boost the contrast, boost the lighting a little bit, and we're going to toggle these just a little to make the colors pop a little bit more. So that looks a little bit better. Now I'm going to go into my window history, kind of like in Lightroom where we can see what we've already done. So I click on there, and then when I desaturate it, I had this. And so then I get into the levels. Hopefully you think that one looks better. Okay, so it's a little bit brighter, and then this picture pops out a little bit. So that's how that works. Okay, so I've done 2 of these so far. I'm going to get into this one. Now, with this piece, you could try to use the lasso, although it gets a little bit tricky to just draw around the whole thing. So I'm not going to do all that. So I'm going to click out of there, so deselect it. I want to go into my quick selection tool. Now this is way too big. So I'm going to do this. So I'm pressing the bracket and making it smaller. If I don't have the bracket, I can always go up into here and change it that way. So now I'm at 93. You can see what size it is. I'm at 55. That might be okay. Might be too small, might be too big. And so as I'm clicking on this, I can either draw inside of it or just start clicking. But when I draw outside of it, look what happens. So then I get too much selected. So then I press the Option key to deselect some of it. And I'm going to draw around this part here so it doesn't select the area that I want. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit into the buds that are going on right here. And so I'm going to get this whole piece selected. That's pretty good. Okay. So then, remember, I've got this part selected, but I have to inverse the selection, so all of this is going to be selected. So I go Select, Inverse, and now again, I've got the dancing ants. Then we'll go Image, Adjustments, Desaturate, and voila. So I'll go Select, Deselect, and now I've got it set. Okay? What else do we have here? These apples. Okay, quick selection tool. Press the bracket, make this larger, and I'm going to draw this area. Then I'm going to click here. Now it's adding to the selection every single time that I press it. So I'm going to go smaller. And see how I'm just doing one little click? And that is almost able to select everything. Now, I'm going to click on here. Now this isn't right. So then I have to press the Option key, or I can click on this one. And then what that's going to do is it's just going to deselect the areas that I don't want. And so one last little step. And so now I've got that. So pretty much most of this is selected. So I'm going to go into the plus sign, clean up this selection just a little bit. And then what's the next step? Select, inverse, get our dancing ants, and then go Image, Adjustments, Desaturate. And then I'm going to go Select, Deselect, and we'll see what we've got. So now there are my 4 apples that are looking pretty good. I go into this picture here. I've got multiple options here. If I want to use the ellipse tool, I can select it this way. It gets a little bit tricky. And now as I'm drawing this, I want to get it to fit right. So then I end up pressing the space bar to move it into the right spot. Okay. So then I've got it almost selected, pretty close. If it doesn't quite fit right, then either deselect it and try it again, or just go with it. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go Select, Deselect. And for this one, I want to use the quick selection tool, but I want to make this a lot bigger. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to select all of this area around in here. Now this is a hard picture because I can't really even see the dots very well. In fact, I'm not even going to do that. That one's terrible. Select, deselect. We're going to start this one again, and I just want to go inside of this basketball. Now, if I'm having a hard time selecting everything, press the zoom tool. Click on that, and now I can zoom in a little bit more. Now I grab the quick selection tool, and then I can get all of it selected. And if there's something I don't want selected, press the option key. Okay, so that looks pretty decent. Just clean up the edges just a little bit. Okay, I screwed up there just a hair, that's okay. So then I release the option tool, and then I can just add to my selection. Add to my selection. One last little click. There we go. Okay, I'm actually going to go right there. So I'm going to zoom out. So I click on the zoom tool, and I can either go to here to zoom out, or I can press the option key and zoom out this way. Now I've got all of this selected. So again, select, inverse, and then image, adjustments, hue, saturation, or just go to desaturate. Okay, and now here is my basketball. And so everything's black and white except for that. Next one, we've already done that one, so you get the idea. Just select that, right? Go really quickly. We just did it, so I'm not going to do it again. Select, deselect. Moving into the last one here. Now this one's kind of a fun one. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. I, for some reason, want Bart Simpson as my image that I'm going to select. So I'm just going to click on this sticker. And of all the pictures, this one might look the best for what we're trying to do. Because once everything else goes black and white, this will really pop. Okay, so I'm selecting all of Bart Simpson. Getting his fingers selected. This looks pretty good. I'm going to make this smaller. And then press the option key right there. Press the option key again, so I'm deselecting some of this. I'm actually, if I possibly can, I'm going to try to select just the entire sticker. Now, be careful that there's no additional pieces being selected. All right, so that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm not going to get to that spot. That's okay. So now I've got him selected. I'm going to go, of course, select inverse. So I got my dancing ants going around there. So the only thing that isn't selected is Bart Simpson. We'll go image, adjustments, and desaturate. And there's my picture. Now your eyes have adjusted. And there we go. And now look what happens with your picture. Now everything, all of your focus goes to Bart Simpson at the bottom. So that's it. Now, one last thing that I'm going to show you. Some of you, as you're working with the quick selection tool, you might end up with something like this. See that little plus? And you might be making your brush size smaller or larger and nothing's working. It's like, what the heck is going on? Why isn't this working? Because it should. It's because this is a plus sign. And so click the caps lock and now you're good to go. So that's it. Those are my little tips for you for today. Hopefully these help you moving forward so you can use Photoshop or Photopea or Lightroom to make your edits. If you have questions, let me know, but hopefully this was worth your time. So thank you for paying attention to all of this. I hope this was helpful, and good luck with your edits.